Hilchos Yesodei HaTorah, Perek Hey, Halacha Dalet. Rambam begins, Kol mi shenema bo ya'ava v'al yehorig. Everyone, place where it says he has to transgress and not be killed, v'neherag. So let's go into the Peirush. If a person is, according to Rambam, except for the three major averos, in a time when it's not a time of conversion, then he is supposed to transgress, not be killed. And he permitted himself to be killed and he did not transgress. The Rambam's language is that it's as if he killed himself. He's liable for the death penalty. And this was mentioned earlier, but the Radvaz in his Tshuva writes that in Halacha Aleph it's talking about where the Goy forced the Jew to do it for his own benefit. And here it's talking about that the non-Jew intends for him not to show that he's not Jewish. Even so, since it's not in public, the law, according to the Rambam, is that he should transgress and not be killed. And if he went ahead and permitted himself to be killed, according to the Rambam, he has violated the Halacha. The Bach writes, according to Radvaz, that even according to those early commentaries who disagree with the Rambam, have the opinion that even when a person has the right to transgress and not be killed, he has the permission to be killed and not transgress. That's only when the Goy intends for him to transgress on his religion. But that's only in privacy, and therefore he's not obligated to kill himself. But when the Goy intends to benefit himself, everyone agrees it's forbidden to him for the Jew to be a chosid and not transgress. And he proves it. Rava says, a Goy who says in Sanhedrin 74b, a Goy who says to a Jew, cut me this grass for my animal on Shabbos, and if not, I'll kill you. He should cut it and not be put to death. But if he tells him to cut it and throw it into the river, just to show that you're not keeping the halachas, since the intent is only to have the Jew transgress his religion, therefore, if it's public, or in times of conversion, he's obligated to give up his life for his religion and not be killed and not transgress. Today's questions that there it's referring that the Goy said to the Jew, cook for me a pot on Shabbos, and the Jew didn't cook it and he killed him. According to Rava, since the Goy intended for himself and he did not have to be killed, that would seem that according to Rava, he should have transgressed. The answer is maybe that person did not know the halacha. This would be a shogig in not knowing that you have to transgress. The Bach questions, according to Tosfos in Masechet Avodah Zarah, that even when the rule is he should transgress and not be killed, if he wants to, he can do so. And therefore, Tosfos should have answered that since that's the position of Tosfos, that Jew was more stringent and he wanted to be killed rather than transgress. From here, we see that the Bach says that even those who say a person can be stringent, that's only when the Goy intends to have him transgress his religion. But if he's doing it for his own benefit, even the Tosafos will agree with the Rambam that you're not permitted to have yourself killed. You have to transgress. Sevi Ad Melech, they disagree on the Radvaz, and he's of the opinion that according to the Rambam, if the Goy intended to cause him to transgress his religion in private, a Jew can say, I will not do so, he's going to be put to death. And if that's the case, the question comes up, why does the Rambam say the halacha twice? If that's the case, the Rambam already said it's only in private you can do so. Now, there's another point we should point out, that even though the Rambam is of the opinion that he should not permit himself to be killed, and the Goy is doing it for his own benefit, but the Kesef Mishnah writes, many disagree on the Rambam, of the opinion that if he permitted himself to be killed and he did not transgress, it's considered a righteous act on his behalf. What the Gemara says in Sanhedrin 74a, that he should transgress, he shouldn't be killed. That means he has permission to transgress. He does not have to permit himself to be killed, but not it's forbidden to him to be killed. Yezer writes that even according to the Rambam, if he's a well-known halachic personality or religious personality, and he sees that people permit themselves to transgress because of the slightest intimidation, he can sanctify Hashem's name even on the slightest mitzvah, so people should learn from him to fear Hashem. He brings proof from this from the Yerushalmi in Sanhedrin Perek Gimel Halacha Hey, a guy that said to Rabbi Abba in private, he should eat meat which was not slaughtered, if not he'll kill him. And Rabbi Abba said to him, kill me, I want to eat. It means that even in private, he's allowed to transgress, even though the guy might have killed him. And of course, when the Yerushalmi questions this proof, the Yerushalmi writes there that Rabbi Abba did not know the drasha of Chazal v'chai b'hem somehow, and if he would have known it, he would not have been so stringent. And from that we see that you do have to be stringent, the exact opposite of the Bali Tosfot. So those who answer that according to Tosfos did not have the conclusion of the Yerushalmi, or the Tosfos learned that the words of the Yerushalmi come to teach us that he has permission to be stringent about himself. That's why he merited life, and though the guy didn't kill him, God's name was sanctified through the fact that he was willing to give himself up for death. Furthermore, the question of the Rambam from Yigeres Taimon, we wrote a letter to the Temanite Jews to tell them when they were permitted to transgress or not. There he writes, if a person wants to be stringent and to die in Kiddush Hashem, that's praiseworthy. And that seems to contradict what he writes here, that he's forbidden to permit himself to be killed if he's not obligated to do so. And he answers in the Sefer Chimnas Yisrael that the Rambam is talking about on the main three sins. But other Averas, he's not permitted to transgress, to give up his life. La Halacha and the Shulchan Aruch Paskins, if a person wants to be stringent on himself and to be killed, he's permitted. And the Shach explains that the Mechaber intends only when the intent of the Goy is to have him transgress the Jewish religion, but not when the Goy is doing it for his own benefit. If somebody was told he's supposed to be killed and he did not do so, and he was killed and he did not transgress, he sanctified the name of Hashem. If it was 10 people there, then it's called Kiddush Shem Shemayim Barabim. Kedoniel, like we find by Daniel, he says it's forbidden to pray, and he still prayed, and he was willing to give up his life for it. Hanani, Mishael, Vazario, when Nebuchadnezzar said they should bow to the idol, and they did, and therefore, except for Hanani, Mishael, Vazaria, who didn't bow, everyone did so. And the king said they should be thrown into the fiery pit, as we see in Daniel 3. Rabbi Kiva, that they raked his body with rakes of metal in front of his Talmidim and his friends, and he's one of the 10 Hawi Malchus, unique individuals who died on Kiddush Hashem. The next Mishnah questions, Daniel Mosa Nafshoi because of Tefillah, which is no obligation to do so. And according to the Rambam, you don't have to do it. So, in the answer to Daniel is the opinion that he could save himself, and specifically because he was praying in his house, and he didn't think he would be caught. Other answers are that the great men of the generation, everyone looks at them, they are permitted to sanctify God's name, even for a mitzvah where there's no obligation. The Rae HaGodol explains that according to the Rambam, Daniel had to give his life for prayer because the main obligation is deraisa, praying. Elisha Balkanafayim took off his tefillin because of that guard, because he's of the opinion that if you're in trouble, you're not obligated to wear tefillin. And what can be more troubling than having somebody try to kill you? The Das Agro, according to the Gro, the reason the Hanan and Mishov Azariah decided to permit to have themselves killed rather than transgress in public is because it was in public. In public, you can't even change, as we said earlier, the shoelaces, how you tie them, and like Tesis and Ksuba says, what they were willing to give up their life, even though Nebuchadnezzar only meant this for his own benefit, was because people had to learn that that there are times when a Jew must stand on his Jewishness. These Veilein Awi Malchus, the following are those who are considered those who were killed by kingdom, by this world. She'ein ma'ala al ma'losim. There's no greater level than this. As we say in Sochem Nun A. It says that those who are killed, no person, because of Harugi Malchus, that nobody can stand in their presence, such as Harugi Lud. Rashi explains that the daughter of the king was killed there, and the Melech edicted that if the Jews will not say who killed her, they'll kill them all. And two people got up. They said, "We did so," and they were killed. They saved all of Yisrael. Unfortunately, the commentaries explain that somebody who has this level alone, no one can stand in his presence. In the Geras HaKodesh of the Rambam, he counts the names of the 10 Kavugei Malchus, and he adds that even if the sins were so great as the person who gave his life for Kiddush Hashem, as great as Yerovam ben Avot and his colleagues, he still has a portion of the world to come, and no creation can stand in his presence. We were killed for you all day, every day. We are considered like sheep brought to the slaughter. It says also in Tilm 30, that they gathered to me my close ones, those who kept the covenant to the slaughter. And Rabbi Yeshua ben Kocha says in Sanhedrin, Isfuli Chasidoi, they gathered to me my adherents. These are the tzaddikim that are every generation. Korosei Berisi, these are Hanani, Mishael, Azariah that gave themselves into Kivshana Eish. Alei Zevach, that's Rabbi Kiva Chaverov, that's the Atasol Malchus, that gave themselves up to be killed for slaughtering on the Torah. There's Chaim questions on Esther Amalka. She was very modest, and till 75, she never saw the face of any man. And she was counted among the 7 women prophets. Madua, why wasn't she stringent about herself to die, not to come to the house of Achashverosh? Even though a woman is considered passive, and therefore she's not liable, but she was a prophetess, she should have not done it. The answer, Esther Mordechai knew that this is occurring today so that Yisrael will be saved. There's a concept of a one-time prophecy that there was Imsorah by Avimelech. Therefore, she who also was taken to the house of Avimelech. Therefore, she kept the Gzeira to live with Achashverosh. And there, the Toras Chaim says what Rabbi Kiva says in Noach. What did Esther see? What was the reason she accepted to be queen on 127 countries? But Rabbi Kiva continues to let the daughter, or the granddaughter, or the from the lineage of Sarah, that lived 127 years be queen over 127 countries. And the intent of Rabbi Akiva, the intent was, going to the Chaim, to say that her modesty of Esther was similar to the modesty of Sarah. And even Avram, her husband, did not recognize Sarah's beauty until the way to Mitzrayim. And she was taken to Paro, that she was ready to die and not to have a relationship. But in order to save Avram, she kept quiet. Therefore, Esther was also agreed to save Klal Yisrael, and that's why she permitted it. Now, if you make a bracha on mitzvah Kiddush Hashem, you have its rights. You have to make a bracha when you keep a mitzvah. This mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem. It's a very great of all the mitzvahs. If it's 10, you add barabim. And that's what the Meiri is of the opinion as well. The Shlo writes that even though it could be that it'll be saved from death, there's no question of Baruch Atolah, because he gave his life by willing to be giving his life. It doesn't mean you have to die. As we said, every day when we say Shema and we're willing to give our lives, it's as if we have done so. The Shlo is that only when the Goy kills him in front of 10 people, you make a bracha. But if he does it privately, on one of the three, which one has to do because of one of the three major sins only, not the rest of the mitzvahs, there's no mitzvahs Kiddush Hashem, you'll make a bracha. The Achronim disagree and have the opinion, even the Goy kills him in privacy, there's a mitzvah Kiddush Hashem regarding the Goy. And therefore, even if you make a bracha on a mitzvah, only on mitzvahs that you have to seek out, but mitzvahs you don't have to seek out, you don't make a bracha, such as leket shikhu peah, when it falls down in the field or where you left over, where you forgot. You don't have to buy a field to keep that. And mitzvahs Kiddush Hashem, if he can save himself, he's obligated to do so. The Shlo writes that you have to look forward to this mitzvah, like Rabbi Akiva, who said about himself, all my days I was waiting to see when I had fulfilled the Bechol of Nafshecho. He never felt that he had intent was strong enough, even if it takes your soul. Therefore, you can make a bracha. Not only, according to the Minhag Ashkenazim, at the end of the tefillah in every day in the morning before Karbonis, Baruch Atah Hashem Mekadesh Shmei Barabim. But even according to the Rambam, in the Svardim, it became his hand of Kiddush Hashem, he doesn't say Baruch Atah Mekadesh. And this mitzvah is more beloved than all the mitzvahs, positive commandments, and that's what is brought down in the name of Menachem Merikanti, a great Mekubal. Those who sanctify Hashem's name have to make a bracha al Kiddush Hashem Hanechbad V'Anoiro, because it's a mitzvah, a positive commandment in the Torah of Nigdash B'Sefer B'nai Yisrael, and it's accepted that those who went through Kiddush Hashem, that everyone who is ready to give up his life to go through even torture for Kiddush Hashem with a full heart, a complete heart, then he won't feel any of the pain in the world, because he accepted the pain of Kiddush Hashem, the mortal pain. The right, you don't say Al Kiddush Shmoi, but Lekadesh Esh Shmoi Barabim. Like you say Lehaniach Tzon, you don't say Al Anoch Tzon. But the Ma'amshik, you don't make a bracha on this mitzvah at all, because the tzar, like Kodesh Baruch has when a tzaddik dies. And just like the Malachim didn't want to say shiur, the Kodesh Baruch didn't want the Malachim to say shiur when the Egyptians were dying, certainly when Jews were being killed on Kiddush Hashem. Mishach, it's brought down. You don't have to have that the 10 should be in that place. It's enough that 10 from Yisrael know that he's being killed on Kiddush Hashem. He doesn't have to be there. In other words, if they do it in the jail of a dictator because he's Jewish and everybody knows he's being killed, it's enough. The Achronim question, if somebody if the person being killed is one of the 10, or since he will when he dies, there's no 10, it's not a 10. Shmuel Avuhav, he wants to say that he's not part of the 10, but she was MS disagrees that he is part of the 10. Because he's living through the period of doing the mitzvah. When they killed him, and the mitzvah is over, they saw the Mesilas Nefesh. Regarding a woman, she does not count among the 10. Because you need 1,000,000 of men. The Rambam continues, everyone that it says he should be killed and not transgress, and he went ahead and transgressed and did not permit himself to be killed, he desecrates the holy name. If he did it among 10 of Yisrael, here he was Machal Hashem Barabim. The Mishnah first from the words of the Rambam, only if there are 10 of Yisrael in front of him, he nullifies the din of Kiddush Hashem. Less than that, even though there's Chilul Hashem, it's not nullifying mitzvahs of Kiddush Hashem. Because the Torah says, V'nigdash shall be sanctified amongst Yisrael. And when there's no 10, there's no B'nei Yisrael. According to the Rae Gann, according to the opinion of the Rambam is, even when there aren't 10, there's still a mitzvah of Nigdashti. Because he right at the beginning that if he was killed when he should have permitted himself to be when he was supposed to be killed, he did sanctify Hashem's name. And if it was among many, then it's Hashem Barabim. That means that even among individuals, there is an obligation of Nigdashti. Furthermore, the Rae Gann writes in the name of Peirush HaMeir on the lav, by Chalo, he's not over, only if he was before 10 people, and he didn't permit himself to be killed. According to the Rae Gann, even less than 10 people, he's over on Chilul Hashem. Ubitel mitzvah say, nullified a mitzvah say, shiur Kiddush Hashem, which is the obligation to sanctify the name of Hashem. Ovar al mitzvahs lo yisaseh shichil Hashem, and he also transgressed the desecration of the name of Hashem, and therefore his sin is doubled. And if it was done privately, he doesn't have Kiddush Hashem. That you have to do even in private. If in public, he nullified Kiddush Hashem Barabim, and he also transgressed on Chilul Hashem. Even though he was commanded to be killed and not transgress, if he did transgress and it was because he was forced, he does not receive lashes. And Bezdin would not kill him even if he killed someone else because he was forced to do so. And this is found in Tosfos in Yevamos 54a. That you do not kill or give lashes only to somebody who transgressed willfully so, and there were witnesses, and there was also a warning. As it says by the idol worship, where they used to give one of their children to the idol called Moilach. It says, I shall place my face to the person at that time. And we have a Kabbalah. Hahu means only if he's specifically that person. Loi onos, he wasn't forced. Loi shogeg, not unintentional. Loi muta, not mistaken. And certainly idol worship, which is the most stringent of all sins. If somebody does it against his will, or being forced rather, it's not called chorus. He's not liable for chorus. He doesn't get death penalty from human court. Certainly this applies to other mitzvahs that are written in the Torah. The Rae Gann, question on the Rambam. What is the similarity between Avodah Zorah, between idol worship, that is in the heart, to other mitzvahs that it's an action. Avodah Zorah is in thought because HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows that he didn't accept the idol worship. Therefore, he's not liable, chorus. But other mitzvahs, that what's forbidden is the actual action that he did, not thought, certainly he should be liable to chorus, even when he did it against his will. Then they want to make the differentiation. Why is it so simple that it's the same? The Chassam Sofer explains the Shitas HaRamach as follows. He's of the opinion, like a Moshe Mikutzi, that there's a difference between if he did the sin in privacy or publicly. Publicly, he's liable even against his will. Ramach is of the opinion that is the opinion of the Rambam. Just that the Rambam is of the opinion that Beis Din will not kill him because we say he didn't believe those who warned him, and since he meant his heart is to heaven, therefore the Ramach questions the Rambam, for example, by the idol worship of Peirush, where he relieves himself in front of the idol, but his intent is not to serve the idol, which is what the other people do, but his intent is to shame the idol. He's still liable. So the Chassam Sofer says that's what the Ramach means. The Chassam Sofer himself is of the opinion that Rambam does not adhere to the opinion of Moshe Mikutzi, but like the Tosfos, that even b'Vayesya he's parted from death if he was forced, and not because of the reason that he doesn't believe in the warnings. So therefore, it's not a question from Peirush, where he relieves himself and he wants to shame, because that's the way that Rabbeinu Chassam Sofer explains everything. There's a question on the Rambam. Beis Din doesn't kill him because he already wrote that somebody transgressed is not and did not permit himself to be killed. Since he did it against his will, you don't punish him. What does the Rambam add here by saying he's not killed? Chavdovet Arama says that since the din of Yori Valyavar Aritzeach, we learn from logic, how do you see that your blood is sweeter than the others, that you go ahead and kill them? There was a place to say by oinus, by accident, it was also he should be liable. Therefore, the Rambam had to tell us that even if he killed by oinus, he's potter. And he adds the HaGodol should certainly, going to the Mishnah Melech and say the Peirush HaMeir, Ben Noach, even though he's not commanded about Kiddush Hashem, still Be'otzicha, Ben Noach has to permit himself to die rather than kill somebody else, because we understand this from a Surah. It's logic and has nothing to do with the mitzvah. The question is, so how do I know that if he killed against his will, he's not liable? It's not similar to the other Yori Valyava. Maybe he is liable, because Ben Noach is potter by the others, but Ritzicha, Ben Noach killed somebody else, and he was he's obligated to kill himself, permit himself to be killed, not to transgress, and therefore technically he should be liable for death penalty. The Rambam explains that since a murder is made similar to illegitimate relationships of an engaged, a betrothed woman, therefore, just like the young lady who was raped is not liable because it says nothing should be done to her, so too a murderer, if he was forced, is not liable. The HaGodol says that according to the Rae and the Rashba, they disagree on the Rambam. They say by murder, it doesn't say that if one is forced, he's not liable. With this, we can understand the words of the Rambam, that Ba'aroyis, that's why he adds the words that by forbidden relationship, it says to the young lady, nothing shall be done. It means if it wouldn't be in the Pasuk that it should not be done, then by Ritzeach, by a killer, we wouldn't know that he's not liable because he was forced. I would say the reverse, that just like a Ritzeach is liable, if we would say that a Ritzeach, somebody who murders against his will, is liable for the death penalty, then the young lady would be liable to the death penalty as well. Therefore, the Rambam has to bring in the posuk to tell you no. We learn from the engaged woman that she was raped, that she's not liable. Because the Torah says she's not liable, therefore, Rotzeach, which is made similar to that, is also not liable. With this, we understand the words of the Rambam that by Aroyas it says, now you shall not do anything. It means, if not for the posuk, then she would have gotten death. By a murderer, we would not have known that against his will he's not liable. And we would say the reverse. This is according to the Rambam, that in the three major sins, if you transgress and you did not get murdered or killed, you are not liable for a penalty. But the Peirush HaMeir in Sanhedrin writes, by Avodah Zorah, from love and from fear, that Rabbeinu David disagrees between the three Averas, that the rule is that you have to be killed and not transgress, and to the other sins. Other sins, even when you have to be killed and not transgress, when it's done in public, for example, it's only because of Kiddush Hashem. If he did so, he's spotted because he's only transgressing on one of the other 613 mitzvahs. But by the major three sins, idol worship, illicit relationships, and murder, if they warned him and they said to him that you can't do it, even though you're being forced, and he accepted it, he's liable to death penalty. Well, it says in the Brisa, he, and not somebody who is forced, that comes to tell us if he did it without knowledge. Just like by oath, we say a person has to, and not somebody, a person, he has to be knowledgeable, and not somebody who is forced. Thus, we find three ideas in the Rishonim. If you transgress a sin that he could have been killed, he should have been killed for. According to the Rambam, he doesn't get a penalty even from the three major sins. Rabbeinu David differentiates between the three stringent ones, both privately or publicly. If you weren't killed, you are punished. Moshe Mekutzi, the Baal HaSemai, who says only whether it's private, public, or private. If it's private, even by the three major ones, you're not punished. If it's public, even on the lighter ones, you're also punished. Now, we have to point out, according to Rabbeinu David, you're liable to death if you transgressed, even though you were forced on one of these three major ones. The passage, why isn't the betrothed woman not punished, is only regarding illicit relationships. And the HaGodol explains that the opinion of Rabbeinu David that why is she not liable is not because of rape, is rather because she has not participated. She is passive. She doesn't do an action. The proof from the Rivosh writes that somebody who transgresses because of fear of death is not called against his will, that one is not liable for. And so too, by a betrothed woman, if she could have saved herself by permitting herself to be killed, she should have permitted herself to be killed. But even since she could not do it, because since she is karka olam, then she's not liable. That even if she wants to give herself up to death, she cannot prevent the sin. There she is forgiven. But if she does it herself, the Aveira, out of fear, she's liable to the death penalty. It says in the to the young maiden you shall do nothing. In Aroyas, when it comes to forbidden relationships, there is the concept of not being liable for rape, because the Torah says she's not liable. Because the Mishnah writes that it's only regarding other sins. But by Aroyas, by forbidden relationships, if they forced her to do something actively, then if they force a man, to do it actively, then he is liable, because a person can't do it without intent. He can't have a relationship if he doesn't want to do so. Still, the Ravid writes in the Asogas that there is a concept even by a man of being forced. He wanted to have a relationship with his wife, and somebody forced him to have a relationship with somebody else, so therefore he was already able to do it. Or he was aroused already, and then he had no choice because the Goyim forced him. Now the Mishnah writes here, the Rambam will admit that since he began the act with no thought of committing an Aveira, only afterwards, after erection, they forced him to do it. That's called a total oinus. And therefore, there's no rule that there's only erection according to thought. Even so, because he did so against his will, but he was forced. You don't give him malchus, and certainly you do not kill him in Bezdin, even if he was warned beforehand. The Rach disagrees with the Rambam from Sanhedrin 64a. Here it says that somebody who relieves himself to Baal Po'el, to the idol, that the worshipping was done by relieving oneself, defecating, even though his intent is to shame the idol, since that's the way it's done, it is forbidden. The Ramach says the witnesses warned him. Even if he wants him to shame, he's liable, because you need to have warning. Just he thought that since he himself wants to shame, it's permitted, and therefore the entire warning has no effect. Even so, he's liable for death. So you see, if a person serves idol avodah zorah against his will, and they warned him, he is liable for Mesa. So what does the Rambam do with that? He has a mission questions. His questions should not be on the Rambam, rather on the Brisa itself. That we find in Torah's Kahanim that oinus is poto. If it was forced, he's poto. The Halacha Mishnah explains that the point, what the Ramoch is pointing out, is only on the Rambam and not on the Chazal, because you can say that Chazal meant to say that he's poto from chorus, not from Mises Bestin, not from death penalty, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows that the person was doing it for what reason he was doing it, and was he mistaken or intentional. But when it comes to Bezdin, people's court, since he was warned, he's liable for death. But the Rambam finds him not liable from death, and therefore the Ramach questions the Rambam's opinion. The Gezer Mishnah also states regarding the Ramach, if he accepted a warning, that's like he did it willfully and not forced, which is not the case if you force him to serve avodah zorah. That even idol worship, that even he was warned, if he does it against his will, it's considered against his will and not his desire. And if he agrees from his will, it's considered will. The shiur on poyo atzmi val poyo, he does it even when with intent to shame. There are those who say he's liable for a sin offering. That's the Ramach understood, and others. And there are those who say that he's chayav skila, and so understood the Gezer Mishnah. So the question is whether would he be liable for a death penalty, or we're just saying that he has to bring an offering because he transgressed. And the very question of the Ramach from the Gemara Sanhedrin by Poyer Atzmoi, the Mishnah says it's talking about they intended to serve the idol worship, and therefore he's liable for death penalty when they warned him. As Tosis explains there, or HaGodol explains, the question of the Ramach according to the question of the later commentaries, from the Rambam would seem that the service of a moilech is avodah zorah. In Hilchos avodah zorah, he explains that according to the Rambam, moilech is not avodah zorah, and there we will clarify this aspect of the question. According to the Rambam, Hilchos avodah zorah, that moilech is not avodah zorah, we can understand what the Rambam intended, and the Rach's question falls away, because he questioned avodah zorah if its forbiddenness is in the mind, that he accepted the idol as a god. Therefore, if he did it against his will, he is not liable for chorus, because in heaven they know what he meant, what he intended. But Bezin, you don't go after the intent, but after the actual act, and therefore they're liable. But if we'll say the Rambam is the opinion, and Moilech is not avodah zorah, even if he gives from Zara from his seed to Moilech, the obligation is on the action and not on the thought. It could, and if that's the case, we should learn from Moilech a minor from a major to other mitzvahs, that it should be on the action. If you do it, you're liable, and the differentiation between chorus to bein Mrs. Bezdin falls away, because the chorus too is only on an action and not on thought. How he wanted it, because once he did the action, he'll get chorus, because he did the action. The Rambam continues, if a person has the ability to flee and save his soul and to run away from under the hands of this evil king, he does not do so. This is like a dog who returns to his dung, as the Pasuk says in Mishlei, that means that since he had the ability to flee and he didn't do so, he is like a dog who remains where he shouldn't be, and the dog had to vomit, and he comes back to the area where he vomited it. That's the nature of the dog. And he's called somebody who served idol worship willfully. And he loses his portion of the world to come. And he goes to the lowest levels of Gehenna, which is hell. In Shas Shuvas HaRivosh, he brings a proof from the Gemara Megillah 12b. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says that the edict of Haman came because they vowed to the idol in the days of Nebuchadnezzar, even though they did it against their will. Because why are they liable for destruction? But God knows that they could have fled or hidden. In Medrash, Hashem says, they say, Hanani Mishal V'Azoya, asked Yechezkel, Hanovi, if they should give their life, if they should risk their life, and he said to them, I have accepted as Halacha from Yeshayahu, my Rebbe, that you should wait a moment until the anger goes by. So the Gemara says, it would seem, so the Peirush says that it would seem that they could have fled and hid. The Gemara says, even though they could have fled, that doesn't obligate them to be punished by death, only punishment of death from heaven. And so the Rivosh explains the Gemara Sochem. When the Gemara says, what did Hanani Mishav Azoriah do? That where did they learn it from? That they threw themselves into the fiery oven. They took a minor from a major from Tzvaldim. So the question is, why do you need a Kal V'Choim? Why do you need a minor from a major? But you see from here that they could have fled, just like the Tzvaldim, the frogs could have chosen other places to go to, and they didn't choose to go into other places. They went into the ovens. The time of the Tashbats, about 100 years before the expulsion from Spain, there was the ability was given to Jews either to convert, or they should flee or be expelled from Spain. And that's those that remained, and to act outwardly as if they were non-Jews, they're called Moranos. And he judges them if do they have a din is the din of a mumma, somebody who doesn't believe in God, and therefore if they touch wine, it becomes invalid for kiddush. And the Rambam here writes that somebody can run away and he didn't do so. It's as if he serves idol worship willfully so. He, however, judges them leniently. Maybe they didn't run away because they didn't have the money to pay to get out. Or maybe we'll see the reason for it, etc. Furthermore, the Tashbatz writes, even if it was known they had a chance to right away, meaning that the king, which is evil, let it be known you can leave. Even so, it could be they were afraid, maybe he's just testing them. We'll see that they're leaving, he'll kill them. But the Rambam says that somebody can run away, and he didn't run away. It's like he served idol worship willfully. That's only heaven. That's only given over to heaven because he knows what the intent was. But other people, it could be we cannot punish them. The Radach infers in the Rambam that even if the king should take all of his money and all the money, the assets of somebody who's going to run away, and therefore he doesn't have the ability to run away, and he remains because he wants to keep his assets, that's like he's doing it willfully, not like the Tashbatz. Yavetz writes, a person is liable to is obligated to give all of his money, not to transgress any negative commandment, even if it's not from the three major Averis. Only in a place that there are people who will have mercy on him and give him existence. Otherwise, that's pikuach nefesh, that's v'chai. If he's going to die from starvation, then that's v'chai. The Rambam in Sefer HaMitzvos writes, the posik that the woman, the betrothed girl who was raped, nothing should be done, is a warning to Bezdin not to punish somebody who did it, who was forced to do something. The Ramban Nachmanides disagrees and says that it's only a forgiveness from punishment, and Bezdin is not told to, and not a warning to the Bezdin that they should not punish the individual.